And again, that's the form to fill out if you have any questions during the workshop, and then we'll talk about it after. All right, let's get this started. Okay, so, welcome. Yeah, this is a mentoring workshop. So we're going to talk about that stimulus sample. That was like a pretty long one, honestly. I'm probably not going to do them that long again, just because there's so much in it. And because of that, it's kind of unfortunate that I'm not going to be able to provide like feedback for every single person individually, but I will be able to provide feedback for everyone in like an overall sense. And I'm going to do that first before we get into how to approach it, and there'll be some questions and some fun stuff we could do. So let's see. Okay, so we'll start with introductions. You know, obviously there's too many people here for everyone to introduce themselves, but I'll do an introduction and then we'll do a little, you'll type a number in, which one applies to you. How it works and expectations. We'll go over some feedback. Then we'll talk about the stimulus in depth. And then I'll talk about my mentorship program, and then a Q&A. And then we'll end around 10 p.m., which is about 2 hours from now, hopefully, because I do have to wake up early for work. So, all right, so introductions. So let's see. Let me just check, because I know there's people still slowly coming in. Okay, there we go. All right. Hi, I'm Trevor. My name sign is like TK, and then it's because of my spiky hair. I always have spiky hair. I've been NIC certified since 2015. Before that, I was able to get the QA3, which was like a state level certification type thing. And of course it's defunct now, but that was from 2013 to 2015. So I got some experience there, and it was pretty awesome having that before I was certified. I have a bachelor's of arts from the University of South Florida in communication sciences and disorders, interpreter training track. And before then I got an AS from Florida State College at Jacksonville, also in a sign language interpretation program. Those were both ITPs. So I took 2 years and then 2 years. So 4 years of an ITP, basically. And my work experience. So this is my NIC. And as you can see here, funny story, once I got it in the mail, I was so excited. I opened it up and I looked, and it looked like it said Trebor on it. And I was like, what? Then my wife came up to me and she was like, no, it says Trevor. That's it. It's Old English. And I was like, oh. So yeah, that was my experience. So there's going to be a lot of information. So just try to absorb everything you can with an open mind. I know a lot of times we can be very, if you see something that's weird, you're like, well, I don't like that. But it's totally fine if you don't like what you see from either me or anyone. It's totally fine. Just take it, and then if you want to take it and accept it and put it into your products, great. If not, just let it bounce off you. No harm, no foul. So we're gonna have breakout time, a little bit of breakout time. I think there's only like probably 3-minute segments of breakout. So not a lot at all. There's gonna be some active participation, so I'm gonna be asking you guys some stuff, and a little bit of little mini lessons. It's recorded and available within my mentorship program. So you'll see, once you get into it, you'll see it says, old workshops, and it'll be there. Okay, and this is a safe space. We accept everyone, no negativity allowed. If anyone's being negative or anything, or saying stuff they shouldn't be, kicked out. But you guys won't, because you're awesome. yeah, and just some general stuff. If you disagree with someone, approach them in a way that adds to and doesn't take away from their approach. So you could say something like, "Wow, that's interesting. I also saw it sign like this," or "Oh, I never saw that before, but I saw it this way," or like, "Awesome, cool, thanks. Yeah, I was thinking something like this," and then sign it a different way. And then very important, critique someone only if they ask for critique. So if we're in a breakout or something and someone's signing something and you see it and you're like, "What are they signing?" They'll be like, "You should sound like this," right? Only if they ask, like, "Oh, if you guys can just, correct me or whatever." That's cool. Or provide feedback. All right, and this workshop has a few breakout room assignments, like I said, so please be respectful to everyone. If they want to be private and block everything and they don't want to be engaged in the breakout, that's totally fine. Respect them. And if you're kind of the only one and they're all blocked, sorry, so you can just kind of think out loud if you want or whatever, but it's not a mandatory part. So just want you all to feel comfortable as possible. Self-talk is important. In order for you to be successful, you must tell yourself you'll be successful. Okay, your brain will start to reroute your thoughts, behaviors, and actions to become what you are telling yourself. In my program, we practice self-talk, not like a lot, just a little bit at the beginning of little assignments and stuff. So just to make sure that we are thinking and we're getting our head in the right direction. So let's try it now. So you can say it to yourself, you can block the video or not if you don't want to look whatever, but I just want you guys to say this out loud and I'll mute myself so that I'm not talking over everyone while you're trying to say this too, okay? And you can change it afterwards if you want as well. And you can also say it into your head. Okay, so there it is. So we just start off on the right foot. We're feeling good. Let's get into it. Let's see what else I got. So let's get into the feedback. So before the feedback, great job, everyone. High five. Okay. To all of you who did quotations, I know this is difficult and scary, but you did it. Kudos, good job. You guys are awesome. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is something called prosody, and that's fluency in your signing, and also fluency in how you speak as well when you voice, but we're focusing on voice to sign right now. Okay, so when you are interpreting, right, I want you to come off like you are that person. So you do this. So the person speaking and automatically you just become them and you're them. Okay. I have a cool little video here. Feel free to try it yourself a little bit if you want, but I'm only going to do maybe like 15 seconds worth. But I just want you to watch, if you're watching me, I just want you to watch how I'm becoming the speaker, and it's ridiculous, and I'm going to look ridiculous in front of all of you, but it's okay. So here we go. Can we all hear it, by the way? You can all hear it. Is it clear or is it kind of like low and muffled? You don't hear anything? Oh, wait, hold on. You hear it now? Okay. All right, so I'll start. And I'll only play maybe 15 seconds of it, right? Okay.
Why are you crying? What? You want your dad? And he's already married? So you can't marry him? Are you gonna marry them? Why are you gonna marry nobody, Bella?
Okay, so you guys see how that works? That's how you gotta be when you interpret. You gotta be the person you're interpreting for. Okay, so, and this also brings in, the idea of like looking native in your sign production. And of course that comes with practice, but just know that that's the point, is to look as native as possible. So you guys should try to be copying native signers as much as possible, so your product looks like that. And then sometimes people have style, and actually I'm going to do style. So style, fingerspell like this, is like this. But you know, if you want to do like this, like style, it's all of a sudden becoming messy and not very clear. So, you know, like a little flick of the wrist, like I got style. Like you don't just sign very citational as much as possible before you're certified. And then when you get certified, you're gonna know if what you're doing with like your stylistic maneuvers, if that's gonna be clear and it's gonna get through and all that. So just try to keep it as citational as possible. Sign clarity. Like I said, citational signs as much as possible, fully forming your signs. So this comes off lazy, but you know, I'm not saying anyone was lazy. I'm just saying signs that aren't fully formed come off like lazy. So if you sign like happen, for example, like this is the sign for happen, right? It's a full sign. But if you sign like, and it's, you know, it's happen, I go, you're not really like signing fully what it's supposed to be. And again, but you know, like I was saying before, if you change a little bit of the parameters or something, like it skews the message, right? So we don't want that. And then here are just some signs, signing inaccuracies. These are, I think these are all that I saw, which it's not a lot, you know, between, there was like 15 videos that I got. There, you know, there wasn't that many signing inaccuracies, but there weren't that many. But so here's one. Oh wait, someone's. Okay. So here was one. So someone signed this for. It really stuck out to me, and so I think they were trying to sound like that, or they were like, or something like that. But yeah, so that is like, that's like lifting someone up and like your role model or someone you look up to, or white privilege also. That's also the sign for white privilege, just like this. And then of course you add different stuff to make it clear that you're talking about that. But age, so age, and then it kind of, well, first, okay, so 10 years old comes out in front. Sometimes people are signing like this, like came out to the side or something. And I understand it. It's hard with like the video with the 2D space, but you still have to sign appropriate as much as you can. So like that. So that's 10 years old. Science. This is the sign for science. I saw someone was doing something like this or something, like kind of like boxing or fighting or something, but science. And it's because if you take like a beaker, you know, and you're pouring it, and you're doing like a chemical experiment. So that's why it's like this. Science. Chemistry is also with C. Okay. Okay, and this was another one too. Not many people did this, but still it's worth noting. They did sit, and then it was like tap like this. Like I was sitting there and then I was tapping. So what you're doing is so you're like mixing your kind of role shifting your constructed action. So you sit and then like you tap or whatever you want to use for tapping. But you sit and then you come out of that scene, right? And then you do whatever you're doing. Many also was signed like this or something. And like that looks like the sign for like this, which is like a classifier sign for many of whatever these are. People, you know, objects, options, cards. And then there was one, pay off. It was, you know, my college education, how did I pay it off? Or paid off. But this, it means to pay off a debt. So it's kind of assuming that he took out like debt, student loans to pay, but we don't know that, so you can't add information. So you just have to pick the better sign choice, which would be something like pay, or I'm gonna go like pay. And then I saw fingerspelled child. And this was actually interesting. Okay, so fingerspelling child is fine, and that's a sign. But I didn't want that person that I saw or anyone else thinking this. I don't want you just signing it because you heard child and then you sign, oh, child, I know that sign, right? You're signing it because that's the idea you're trying to convey instead, okay? And also like the sign for child is also like this. Okay, so let's keep moving on. And I saw childhood, fingerspelled hood. I don't think I've seen that. Maybe I've seen it once forever ago, but I don't remember seeing it. I just know I don't think it's generally accepted, as like an ASL sign. It could be like an English thing, but I don't see it ever. So probably best to not really leave that in your kit. Okay, so worry versus trouble. This is a big one too. A lot of people do this. So worry is like, you could think of things are constantly coming at you and you're kind of worrying, or you're kind of like dodging everything, versus trouble is just one kind of trouble. So trouble. Okay. Memory, I saw with an M. So just make sure you're using, look behind you, thinking, stuff like that for memory. And so finger spellings, drumstick was fingerspelled. You don't need to fingerspell that. Don't need to fingerspell drum. Don't need to fingerspell office. I saw tap. I saw a lot of people did that. Don't need to fingerspell it. Not important. You just show it. You show yourself tapping, whatever way. Clint, if it's the first time in the source, you can spell it. It's fine. However, in ASL, when you are interpreting, and especially your role shifting, you don't need to fingerspell the person's name. So you don't need to go, Clint, do you want to go over there or whatever? You just go, do you want to go over there? Because you're using eye contact, and that's enough in ASL. Jensen versus Mr. Jensen, they're both accepted, totally fine. I've seen them both. So teacher Jensen versus Mr. Jensen. I think that's fine. And then I saw a spelling ever. So it was, did you ever, whatever it was, which I thought was interesting because it was for emphasis, but I probably wouldn't have fingerspelled ever, but he did emphasize it. So you could emphasize it by spelling. Okay. And a lot of English intrusions. Interpreting means English to ASL and ASL to English, vice versa. Transliterating means English to case, CASE, which is conceptually accurate signed English. And a lot of you kind of transliterated. If you find yourself matching the English source verbatim, you're not interpreting. You should be using ASL structures like topic, comment, or conditionals, if-then statements, and rhetorical questions. That should be the most of your sentence types. Lag time, sacrificing lag time for information catching. Study shows that using appropriate lag time causes a decrease of errors in your production. So as long as you're staying somewhat far behind, you are catching the big chunks and you're interpreting those. So you can practice this by consecutively interpreting, which is, you play a sample for about one chunk, you press pause, or if it's real life, you would say, would you mind holding 1 second? And then, interpreting it and then say, okay, go ahead. Okay, 1 second. And then go back and forth like that. Dropping the chunk, or you can practice this by interpreting chunks at a time and dropping the next chunk that comes after it so that you can fully interpret the first chunk confidently. So like A, B, C, D, you're interpreting A, or you're listening for A, and then it stops, and then you have your chunk that you got. So now you start interpreting it, and B is going, so you drop it, and C starts, and then you start it again. So those are two ways you can practice lag time. And then I saw external defeat, which is like the person was interpreting, and I was like, and it was like self-defeat. And if you're doing this often, there needs to be a game plan to change it. Remember, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. Your mind is 10 times worse than what's actually happening. Because the signs that person and a couple others were using was actually pretty okay. Instead of showing this defeat, try deep breathing instead, just breathing through it as you're processing. And the end goal is to totally eliminate this from your product. Constructed action eye gaze was another one. Setting people up in space and then referring back to them correctly is very important. Teacher versus student eye gaze. So for the teacher, you're looking down a little bit. And for the student, you're looking up a little bit. Very important to keep make sure you're interpreting that correctly. Getting comfortable with ASL storytelling, incorporating signs to show the story, not telling it, but actually showing through signs what's going on. You don't have to explain every single thing that's going on. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but don't worry, you can always go back and rewatch it. Now the stimulus discussion. So this is the fun part. Okay, and the old adage is if you ask 10 different interpreters, you'll get 10 different answers. So just know that there's lots of different interpretations for everything out there. But don't worry, we're going to work through this and see what we can come up with. So, all right, first one. And by the way, I can only really see like, oh wait, I can see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, see like 8 of you. Okay, I have a lot of memories from when I was a child. So what should we sign first? Anyone could sign it, or you could speak it if you want. But what do we want to sign first? Okay. So okay. Sentences in English. I have a lot of memories from when I was a child. So you want to sign child first. Topic, comment, child first. And then it's interesting because yes, he's talking about when he was a child, but he's kind of also talking about him growing up, right? So it wasn't just when he was a child, it was kind of also growing up. So I'll give what I signed for this. What I came up with is something like this. Okay, so I started with a discourse marker, inform you, past, time marker first, past me grow up, and then I became the child, or I became him growing up, and then I kind of shifted my eye gaze and also my body back to the right a little bit so I can become myself in the past. And I'm having all these experiences, and then I shift back to present me and I say, I remember. So I'll sign it again. And affirmation nod at the end. Okay. And you guys can practice this if you want. Let's see. Okay, so it's 8:30, so I got a little time. All right. So yeah, so I'll try it one more time. You guys can copy me. I'll sign it slow just so you can get a feel for what it might feel like. Cool. Any questions there before we move on in the chat? If not, remember you can use that form if you have anything. And I'll give us maybe a couple of seconds to see if anyone's got a question. I don't see anyone's typing. I think I see one. So inform you first, right? So it's a discourse marker because it shows the start of something, right? Because you're coming onto the scene and this person is just randomly talking. But they're talking to a crowd, or they're talking to an individual, or they're talking to someone. And it's kind of important in sign language to notify the deaf person that something's going on, or I'm going to tell a story or something. Lots of people sign, story and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something added. I guess you don't really need it if you're he is kind of just popping up out of nowhere and saying, I remember, da, da, da. And so you just go, well, so I grew up and I remember. But it's kind of a little discourse marker ASL thing that you could use. And I'll show you I have plenty of them as we go through. Is it implied he was going to start a story because it was a video? Yeah, because it's a frozen text. Technically, and I know, so frozen text to me is anything that's recorded and it's there and it's never going to change because it's recorded, right? So it's a frozen text. So you saw it was a frozen text and it was 3.5 minutes. So it's going to be a story. So, but even if he just said that sentence, I would still sign that. I would still go, oh, wow, I remember it. And then the person goes, oh, really? And you go, yeah, it's because we're starting something, right? So that's kind of the idea. All right, next. One that always stuck out to me, though, was when I was about 10 years old and I was in school. So how can we sign stuck out to me? Okay, good. I saw, okay, cool. Okay. So a lot of good options here. Yeah, special. So first I saw this sign, which is like, you could think of this as, so it's negative. So think of this as trauma. So it's like etched into your brain because it was so bad, right? So I'm sure you all could think of something traumatic. That would be the sign for that. And then you could even more by using both through the heart too, right? Something traumatic happened, so that's negative. So it wouldn't be in this case. And then I saw, I think, maybe something like obsessed, which that's a sign for obsessed, like always on my mind, always thinking about it. So that wouldn't be really a good fit here. Stuck out to me. This sign was pretty cool. I didn't think of it too much, but something that stuck to me. I think that's good. It's like when you learn a lesson, it sticks to your brain. You really remember it. Okay, let's see. I like this sign the best because that's like imprinting on your mind, and that's a positive thing. It doesn't, I guess it could be negative as well, although there are better signs that are negative, which is like this one. But that is like, oh yeah, I really remember it. And that's like imprinting on your head or in your brain. I'm sorry, imprinting in your brain. What else? Oh, there was this one, which was like bring a memory to the forefront of your brain. There's this one, and then there's the opposite way, which is like this, which is going backwards. So this or this, I kind of like. I think it fits, maybe like an 8 out of 10. I feel like that's more of like actively retrieving it. It's like when you forget something, like when you go to the store and you're like, okay, I needed that, and what was the last one? And then you go, that was it. So kind of thinking of it in that way. Yeah. And then this way, the opposite way, going backwards, is like, keep that in mind or keep it in mind. So, or remember this, or like, so your teacher teaches something and they go, important, don't forget it, keep it in, always think about it, right? And you could also do that too, right? So it's like, and you guys can't really see, but if you think about it constantly in the back of your mind, you can do that as opposed to this, or you could do this as well. This is also good sign twist. So what did I come up with? So okay, and then the rest of that was I was in school. And that's kind of hard, right? Because you're thinking of it in ASL and you go, and I was in school. So it's like, you don't want to sign in school. you can. It's not gonna. You're not gonna, lose all the points in the world. In school, you can, but try to think of it differently. So, school, class. I was sitting in class. Or I mean, if you could just say school, I was there. My school, I was there. I was in school. Okay, so again, and you can copy sign. Okay, I'll do it one more time. Okay, making sure the eyebrows are up for the topic of that, and then they go down when you're commenting. All right, moving on. Let's see. And I struggled. I didn't struggle with English, math, or science. I struggled holding still. So how can we negate English, math, and science? What do we think about that? So you guys can sign English, math, science, and then where do you want to negate it? Do you want to negate it first? Or I was struggling, not English, math, science? Or do you think it should be at the end? English, math, science, not, no, none, this sign. What do you guys think is the best sign for this? Yep, so at the end is right. So you want to negate at the end. So yeah, I struggle with English, math, science, not. You can also just negate with your head. I see it often. Yep. Wait, 10 years old? Oh, I forgot to add that. Yeah, okay, so yeah, you could say 10. You add that in. So special impress, what? 10, school class 6. Yeah, so you just add that in there. So after you press what? I was 10, my school class, me 6. Yeah. I guess I overlooked that. Sorry. Okay. So we'll look at what I interpreted for that part. Yeah, and then there's that end part. I struggled holding still. So I struggled affirming that I'm struggling. I struggled English, math, science, and I listed them from left to right. English, math, science. Just a head shake, no. I struggled sitting, not moving. And then I also added this. It's like, the good student in class, just paying attention. Then I saw some people added the paying attention in this part, which was totally fine and it was cool. And then when it came up later, that kind of saved you some time. So, I struggled holding still. So if you said I struggled, or maybe processing if you added that, although I don't think you probably would have, but like paying attention, not moving, staying still, that's a good sign too. Just paying attention. All right, oh geez. Oh no. Okay. All right, and I would try to listen and focus and process ideas, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, so what do you guys think some sign choices for this would be? Pay attention's good. Focus. Yep. Cool. Good. Yeah, I saw a lot of good ones. Yeah, paying attention, focusing, listening is a good one here, or this, because technically he is hearing and it's his point of view. So you'd probably be, listening to the teacher. You could do like that. And if you are trying to mediate this, if you're trying to culturally mediate this for someone, yeah, in this case you wouldn't really mediate that. You would go listen and pay attention, yeah, as opposed to signing like this. Although that's still a good choice. So you kind of have to feel it out what you think. But in this case, it's from the hearing perspective. It's from his perspective. So he really, this was the big issue for him, not listening and paying attention. And processing, also this is the sign for processing. I saw another sign, I'm not sure if I remember, I think maybe, I don't remember, but so mental processing is this. So you touch your brain and this is like a kind of, I don't know, I guess it's like the middle of the processing thing and your brain is just processing. Okay. And then so what I signed was this. So discourse marker, understand. That's also used for but. If someone's like, but, blah, 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 you can also sign understand. So I signed. So understand, discourse marker. I try, pay attention, mental process, control myself, right? Control my body. So impossible. Or you can sign can't is good. So control myself, can't. Can't, impossible. No good. No good. That's another one. NG, two-handed or one-handed. But yeah, no good. No good. Yeah, it's like this N into a G. Kind of just flicks up and out like removing things like this. Okay. So I'll sign it again. You guys can copy me. So. Yeah. Cool. Let's see. All right, I'm looking at some questions, see if we have anything here. It's notification at the end. Rhetorical yes, no question. With negation at the end. So rhetorical, if I'm understanding correctly. So rhetorical is like you're asking yourself a question and you're not, it's not a question. It's just a statement, right? So you just want to say something, but you're not, right? It's not you're not asking the person, it's like you're asking yourself and then you're answering yourself, right? So it's like, am I hungry? Yeah. Do I want to go? Yes. So that's a rhetorical. So eyebrows up for that. Rhetoricals are eyebrows up. And then negation, no at the end. Yeah. And you could also have done no, the sign no. Yeah. Did I struggle with these? No. Yeah, push away. I also signed that too when I was interpreting it a little bit. It was like, yeah, English, math, science. Like push away and go, no, not that. This. And then you could say that I couldn't control myself, stuff like that. It's a no good sign, a lower register. Yeah, it's a little more like conversational. No good. But he's you could use it. Yeah, it's a little more on the casual side, you could say, yeah. So like I said, it's an option. You can use it if it feels like you want to use it. Like if you're interpreting for kids, for example, or kind of more of a laid back style, then you can go no good as opposed to, like impossible or can't. Okay, let's keep going. Here. Okay, so, and to be honest, I would just sit there and then I would start tapping and the students in the class would look at me and say, hey, stop tapping. Okay, so we're gonna do breakout rooms for this. So the 2 questions I want you guys to think about and answer is, why would the students look at the speaker and say, stop tapping? How do we interpret making the implicit explicit here? And if you guys don't know what that means, really quickly, it's just in English and in any kind of, well, in both languages, honestly, there's an implicit meaning where sometimes you have to unpack the idea a little bit to show it clearly in sign language in this case, so English to sign language. So he says, you know, they would look at me and they would say, stop, but why are they saying stop? So we should probably sign that, right? So let's go breakout rooms for 3 minutes. And so just really quickly and brainstorm with your partners. They were getting annoyed by hearing the tapping, right? And you just include the hearing part in your interpretation. So you're making the implicit explicit here. So the students are getting bothered because they're hearing, right? So you kind of have to think a little bit deeper into what you're interpreting and how you are making that clear. And so I interpreted something like this. Me look around, distracted, tapping. Right. And this is student to student. So eye gaze should be like this, all level, all the same. So, you know, it starts with, and to be honest, I would just sit there and then I would just start tapping. So he's kind of getting antsy and he's like, so he starts tapping and then happen, discourse marker, something is changing in the message. So happen, students. And then this indicates students, by the way. So you don't have to go students, they look at me. You can just go students, they look at me. And then you become one of all the students. You could say, you, out, cut it out. Okay, and that's a very nice ASL sign to say stop. So stop it, cut it out, stop doing that, right? Okay, moving on. A lot of the time I didn't realize I was doing it. What would you sign for this concept if I didn't realize? Okay, so I just signed blindsided. I don't really have a good English word for this. Just like I wasn't really. That's what it really means. Like I didn't even realize I was doing it. I don't know. Just had no idea. Right. So that's a option there. And then eventually the teachers got after me and they would yell at me and they would say, Clint, you have to stop tapping. So how do we set up space here? So there's a teacher now, right? So our eyes have to go down when we're the teacher, and when we're the student, if we're interpreting for the student, we would look up a bit, right? And it's just a little bit up and down, right? So, and I'll give what my interpretation is here. So next, so for eventually my teacher, them, do. So this is rhetorical, right? Teacher, my teachers, what did they do? They would walk up to me, and I signed it like this just because it's the easiest to envision, right? So I'm the student and I'm tapping and everyone's getting annoyed. They're telling me stop. And then the teachers would walk up to me, Clint, you know, hey, Clint, and then you could fingerspell. I think this is the first time we hear the word Clint, his name. So fingerspell, tap, finish, have to, finish, have to, must, right? And you say, must. Or afu is the mouth morpheme, so afu. So finish. And then I became the student, and I signed. You look up slightly, and I just sound like, oops, or wrong me, right?
May I
So this
share
is kind of your. Wow.
Yeah. This is Sherry. Yeah. When you say the teacher, when the teachers come, Like what I see there is like,
Yeah.
it looks like it's all in the same setting. Like at that one time, all these teachers came to me at the same time.
Yeah.
You see what yeah.
Right.
So how can you
Yeah,
separate that to different times that teachers are approaching me?
Right. So we have to think about it like, using your body, using your eyes, using your head, shifting your body. And then, so all those together, it would be, my teachers, right? So the teacher's coming up to me, and then another time a teacher's coming up to me. So you don't really need to say, one teacher, and then other teacher, other teacher. Of course, that would be clearer if you had enough time. However, as you heard in the stimulus, it's like boom, 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 and go, right? He kind of talks quickly, and it's like all these ideas, and you're like, I have to interpret this stuff. So something like that is easier. You could even, so it's clear enough. You go, teachers, right? So like, I'm here, and then my teacher comes up to me, and then I'm here, I'm shifting, and then another teacher's coming up to me, another teacher's coming up to me. So that's how you can show that it's different. And you could always just, because it is so fast and it's just moving and you are trying to get to the point, you could always just drop the whole teachers and just say, eventually my teacher or just teacher come up to me. And you have to stop, because in the grand scheme of things, yes, it is multiple teachers, but when it's this quick and, you just have to get out the points. So if you couldn't fit in all the nice little teachers, then what they do, walk up to me, you could just say, my teacher, stop, or whatever. Okay. And then, okay, yeah. Okay, so next, sorry, I'm going like super fast. It's just there's a little bit left, but it is getting kind of late. It's already an hour into it, so I'm just trying to speed up a little bit so I can cover everything. Okay, so it got so bad that it got sent to the principal's office for tapping. So any ideas for this part? It got sent to the principal's office for tapping. Like it was getting worse. And then I got sent to the principal's office. Cool. Yeah, I continued. Yep. Cool. Okay. Cool. Awesome. And then there was like a rhetorical, like, why? Oh, because I was tapping so much. So I did it in a little different way. I said, still I was tapping, and the teacher, I'm sorry. So this is connected to the last part, which the teacher already came up to me and the teachers came up to me and said, oh, you need to stop. And then so it was back to me. This is a continuation. It said, still me. And then, so then you could just roll shift by bringing your eyes down back to this, you're the teacher again, and you go, stubborn tap, principal, go. Or like this, go to the principal. So stubborn, I used stubborn tap, principal, go. Or you can go still tap, go, principal, go. Okay. And he said to me, kid, maybe when you go back to class, just try sitting on your hands. So we have to sign this quick because at this point, he's going quickly. So, you can't really go principal's office there. I walked, went in, sat down. Principal said, you can't do that because it's like, it's so fast. So what I did in this case, which is a cool idea for you to keep in your back of your mind, is to sign it where he's just telling me something. And then I'm kind of narrating what he told me, right? So, okay, here it is. So, he said to me, oh yeah, right. So the teacher was like yelling, and you gotta stop that. And then it's like, or yeah, it was go to the principal. And then so he's like oops or wrong or I feel bad. It's like, and then go to the principal. Principal for me. If feel tapping hands, hand, sit. And I did a classifier bent ones because that's what it kind of looks like when you sit on your hands. So you have to kind of envision, and sometimes you can use classifiers to make it more clear. So hand, sit. And then I respond with, after he tells me, I go, okay, okay. And then I walk back to class. So again, that's and I added a random rhetorical. Okay, so we'll keep going. So I did. I went back to class, and when I felt myself starting to tap, I did this. I sat on my hands, and that worked for about 5 seconds. So okay, so like almost everyone interpreted 5 seconds, which is fine. It's okay, but again, we're trying to get out of the habit and break away from the English. So it worked for about 5 seconds, and you guys can sign or if you want to speak or type a chat. What does 5 seconds mean? What does it really mean? 5 seconds. Yeah, short time. It was just brief. It didn't work, or it didn't work. It failed, right? K handshake failed, or it wasn't successful. Or there's another option where, hold on, where I signed, and I'll show you what I signed right here, but it's, right, so it's this part here, sitting on hands, not working, and then tapping again. So you can just, right, so, and that worked for 5 seconds. You kind of think of like, what does it really mean? It means that it didn't work, and I continued to tap again, right? So me did, the DID, I don't know if you're all familiar with did, but it's something frequently fingerspelled. Did, it means I did something, right? So he told me to sit on my hands. Okay, I did. So I did my hands. I tried, and then so it was more constructed action. I sat there, I was like, and then you go back to tapping. So one more time. Did. Right, so kind of using what you already set up in the last, and if you did tapping like this, if you did tapping like this, then you would go back to the same sign that you used that you were using for tapping. Okay. One time I was tapping in class, and my teacher, Mr. Jensen, looked at me and he yelled, "Hey, Clint," or hey, he said, "Hey, Clint, stay after class." Okay, so how do we complete the message after Jensen yells? So Clint, stay after class. So what I was looking for here, think about it, what does it mean after so he's yelling, "Clint, stay after class." So a lot of people saying stay, which is good. That works. Stay. But again, kind of clinging to the English. So because we are moving around and we're talking about teachers and I'm the student and things are happening, honestly, what would a teacher sign? They would just stay there, right? So if class leaves or class empty, stay. So it's like this. And it's a sharp, forceful movement, as in a command, right? So, and then I'll show you what I signed here for that. Oh, where it is. That's not helpless. sign for like ugh. Or like if you're afraid and you don't know what to do and you're kind of like frozen, like he was. I imagine him being like he's sitting there in class and he's like, do, and then he yells at him. He's like, oh my gosh. So you could do that like that time. So one more time, like timing. And this is like something happened that just hit. It doesn't mean to physically hit. It just means it's a discourse marker, like something happened, like suddenly, like boom, suddenly. My teacher, his name is Jensen. He looked at me, class empty, stay. Okay. And that grasp throat is almost like this one, is like, oops. It could also mean like I didn't mean to say that, like almost like your throat is like seizing up. You're like, oh, why'd I do that? Or why'd I say that? But it's also like, why'd I do that? Right? Like you do something, it's like, oops. And I thought to myself, this is like I'm done. So how do we sign these two parts? And I thought to myself, this is it. Like I am done. Rotation. And then I sign. And so I thought to myself, just thought to myself. And what you could do is your head kind of leans down into your dominant side. And when you're signing to yourself, when you're talking to yourself, you can sign it like that. So you look down to your right, or if you're left-handed, left. So, and your eye contact goes down for thinking and kind of talking to yourself. If you are remembering, it goes up into the dominant side, left side if you're left, right if you're right. So what was that? And it goes up into the right. Oh, okay. Okay. We'll try breakout rooms, be real quick, just 2 minutes maybe. So all I'm looking for is I'm the type. Now I've always been the type of person that believes that a single moment of time can change a person's life. This is one of those moments for me that I will never forget it. Okay, so the first thing is type of person. What does that mean? I'm the type of person that believes this. Or like, how would you interpret that? Type of person. And then that I will never forget it. So how do we add cohesion? Cohesion is like connection and, right? How do we add smoothness to the story? And especially the connection, right? That's what I'm looking for, the connection. By interpreting that segment, I will never forget it. Okay, and here's a hint. Think back to the beginning and what you signed to the beginning. Alrighty. We should all be back, I think. I think we're all back. Okay. So here's what I came up with. Oh, I didn't give you the answers. Okay. So I'm the type of person, pay, right? Tend. I tend to pay, right? P-E-Y, pay. So that's the mouth morpheme, P-E-Y, pay. Pay. Okay. And then the second, what did you guys think? Anyone, you could sign it or voice. What did you say for the cohesion for the second one? How do you interpret never forget it? Okay. All right. All right. It's a little bit of a trick question, but not really. So you want to sign, like he said in the beginning. So for example, I signed this for never forget it. So I would sign it again, I never forget it. So sign it again because you already kind of established it from the beginning that this was something I would never forget. And then he kind of breaks and goes into narration for a paragraph. This is something I never forget, right? So that's how we can create cohesion there. So my interpretation here, take a look at it for a second. Okay, so this is also, by the way, when you can be creative in ASL, especially when it comes to these kinds of things where it's like so ambiguous and you're like, I'm sorry, how do I even interpret this? It's like, now I've always been the type of person that believes a single moment in time can change a person's life forever and, you know, change the course of history and all this stuff. And you're like, how do I even do that? So what I did, an idea that I did here was, so, and I also, the experience was from the beginning where I signed when I was growing up. In my experiences, this was one of those experiences, right? So, and if so, for example, you did like happens or something like I remember a lot of those events or something, you could say here like this, and then I remember, or if you did like, I remember, right? So again, I'll do this one again. So so this is like things that are just coming at you in life because I already set up life is just going by. And then one just kind of smacks you in the face. And you're like, that just changed my life. Another thing too, another one I thought of was something like this. And then I go the other way, right? So like you're doing your usual thing, you have a goal that you're doing or whatever you're doing, and then something happens and it shifts your mindset, and then you leave that one behind. You're like, I'm not gonna not think about drumming. I'm gonna do drumming. So that's the idea here. So some options. This is a whole lot of stuff. It's all constructed action. What's the discourse marker here for question? Okay, so it's like blah, 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 blah. I do have one question that I have to ask you. So I saw like, I have one question I have to ask you. And it's like, okay, there's a discourse marker specifically for questions. Who knows it? So it's like a happen form. It's like one of those. Nope. Okay, so curious. So you could either grab your skin throat, or you can just do it like this. It's like interpreting, half interpreting, but it's on your throat. So you go, curious, question, right? So now, but I do have just one question I need to ask you. Curious. Have you ever thought? And that's it. Right. Sometimes interpreting is easier because it's just like you're dropping all the English and you're just signing that one sign. So I signed. Okay, yeah. So, and like I was saying, this is all kind of constructed action. Sitting in class, and then Mr. Jensen goes over here and he sees his desk, and he sits and he goes, "Come here," and so there. You know, curious. You ever thought about playing drums? Or you ever thought about drumming? And then opens the drawer, right? Everyone kind of did this for drawer, which is good. And then grabbed out, and then I saw drumsticks. And it's just drumsticks like this, or you could do like this, like drumsticks. This is pretty good though, the F hand shapes, because they're round and right long sticks. Or you could do sticks like this too. That's like literal, like that's a sign for stick. So drumsticks, 2 of them. Right. Okay, my very first pair of drumsticks. Okay, this is also kind of a another thing here, and he reached in and he pulled out my very first pair of drumsticks. So this was like a little side comment, right? It's like, and so I'm telling the story, oh, by the way, this. And it's like, what do I sign? So you can tell the story, and then you can kind of shift a little bit forward and to the side and go, my first pair gave me, or my first one, or my first pair, or first one. So you do that, or you can, let me see, I think so. You can sign this kind of side comment, or you can hold it until you're done. You can literally, okay, because like sometimes when you're interpreting, and you'll all be able to do this. Sometimes you can, you get a piece of information and it's like on your hook, your mental hook, and you're like, that doesn't really fit right now, but I'm gonna make it fit at some point. And so it kind of hangs out, and then you fit it in later. So you could have signed this whole part. You know, he pulled out drumsticks. You're not a problem, you're a drummer. Ooh. And then as the music kicked in, or at the end of that chunk, right? I think you're a drummer. And it's like, and then you get it, and then you go, that's my first, he gave them to me, right? Gave them to me. So that's an option too. And then the third option is if it's too crazy and you're just like using up all your mental space, you could just drop it. That is such a minute detail. You know, it's my very first pair of drumsticks. It doesn't, in the whole scheme of things, it doesn't really affect anything, but that's an option. And sometimes you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to be like, oh, hold on, interpreter, and then drop it there, and we're good. Yeah, and then that was more constructed action there. From that on, I never put those sticks down. So how do we interpret this? I never put those sticks down. Is it I never drop the sticks? It just means, right, yeah, yep. It means I kept going, never stopped. I just kept playing. From then on, I just kept playing, right? Okay, and then there's other signs you could add on there, and I said, kiss fist enthralled. So kiss fist is like, just loved it, I loved it. And then the sign enthralled is like, it's funny, it's a funny sign. So it's you're this guy, and you are just falling. And it's like you're falling, and but enthralled, you love it so much. You could always do that too, right? Ooh, right? All those signs. And then music in the background. So then from there, it's this big chunk of like 10, 15 seconds of just like, he's playing, and you're like, what the heck do I do as an interpreter? So what do you do? I mean, and then here's a little side note. On the NIC, I believe somewhere on the NIC or something, it says, interpret everything you hear and see. So just to be safe, you could just hear music. And you can, you know, from then on, oh, I love it. Always me. Hey, me, right? Like you just be like, I just kept going. I loved it. Or you can break and go, I loved it. Hear music, boom, 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 boom. And then we go back into the storytelling. So it's kind of like a break. I hear the music, or yeah, or you could just drum. I've toured. Okay, and this part, I've toured, recorded, and played drums all over the world. My whole college education was paid for with drumsticks in my hand. So how do we sign paid for? I saw a lot of good signs, and I think I already covered this, but so it's not paid off the debt that I incurred from college. It's, you know, so you can say pay. You could say pay because it's such a huge, like college and all, the whole college experience is a lot, you know, especially nowadays like this. But pay one-handed or even two-handed. Yeah, I think, is there any? Yeah, it's pretty good for that one. And so I recorded drums of that, my college education. And then I say how. Oh yeah, how drums. Okay. Getting to the end here, just because of a single moment in time when somebody believed me, he saw something I didn't even see within myself. So who's that somebody and what did he see? Okay. So the somebody is the teacher, Jensen. And what did he see? Something. Oh, he saw the possibility. He saw the possibility of me being a great drummer, right? So it's like, and then I become the teacher. And then that's a little more ASL kind of creativeness there is, so you go, so I was going, so wow, that meant so much, that experience. My teacher, he sat with me, and so remember, wherever you sat the teacher before, if it was over here, like if it was here, if it was here, just kind of, right, creating cohesion. Set that up again, because I set up the desk here, and the teacher came over here, and he said, "Come on," and right. So I would sign that again. So wow, that experience, a teacher, and then I become the teacher, and the teacher's like, and this is VV, like analyzing, VV, or you could always, or this one too is like, it's like looking like, that's very deaf. A lot of deaf people do that. They go, seem like, you could do seem like. So seem like. And then because I was analyzing, I found that something that was like, oh, that's what makes a great drummer. Ooh. And then he gave it to me or something like that. And then that's also a play on this, which is like to drop an idea or just my 2 cents or just letting you know, right? Like, So it's just a piece of information that you have in here and you're just giving it to. So, okay, something creative. We're not going to do breakout rooms because it's too late already for this one. And from that moment on, I learned that there's a difference between being best in the world and being the best for the world. And just quickly wrap this up. So there's a couple ways to approach this. So as he's going, so I'll sign it this way. So or inspire, right? So you could sign it like that, which is like a negation, which, and I know it's hard to think about this because you're like, no, they're clearly saying this is not what I want to do, but this is what I want to do. Or I learned that this, not this, right? But again, if you go into the deeper meaning and you really think like best in the world, you can kind of quickly think about it. You're like, oh yeah, I'm the best. No, I'm really here to spread, influence others, do what you love, stuff like that. So you can just negate it. You don't necessarily have to do the difference between this and this, right? So you can just say that, no, this. Okay, so to wrap things up, it's like an hour and a half. Okay, so quickly, because I know you guys are all tired, but about my mentorship program, really quick. I love this quote. Rome wasn't built in a day. And this is true, and we all know it, we all heard of it. But there's a second part of this quote. It says, but they were laying bricks every hour. So this is really important because you have to slowly build your skills, and it takes time. And believe me, it takes time. It's not something that you can just study quickly and pass. It's something that you have to consistently practice over time. So a little bit about my story real quick. I thought I would get NIC certified after a 2-year program. I felt nowhere near ready. then I took another 2-year program, and so I tried to get certified, or I thought going into the program, my first program, I was like, 2 years, that's enough time, plenty of time, I got this. I didn't feel ready. I did pass with a QA3 though, which was the top of the 1, 2, 3 at the time, but I really didn't feel ready to go into certification. So I took another 2-year ITP. So even with all my training, which was essentially 2 of the same programs, I still didn't feel ready. I even did VRS while I was in school to prepare to pass the NIC. I did VRS for like 2 years, 1 year, 1.5 years or something before I was certified. And then purely just to practice. And I know that's bad, and I know you shouldn't do it, but you know what? I had a QA3 at the time too, right? So I had some sort of level that said, yeah, I'm kind of a competent interpreter. So I did VRS and they hired me and all that. So I said, why not? Let's do it. It was a great learning experience. I loved it. Even then that still wasn't enough for me. So I took it and I actually failed before my internship, and I failed the first time and I was like, no, I was so close. I failed by 11 points and it sucked. But luckily I passed on the second time. So after I graduated, I did internship and I was done and I worked a little bit more and then I passed on the second. And the unfortunate truth is that students rarely get certified out of their ITPs. Some of them do, but not a lot. That's not common, right? Especially if it's just a 2-year ITP and you just took ASL classes before that, and then you get into your 2-year ITP. And so there isn't enough hands-on resources. And it's funny because I remember in my first interpreter training program, at the end of it, I was already making this back then. I was like, I wish there was something just more. And so I felt so angry. I was like, I want more. I need more hands-on. I need a mentor. And I would meet a mentor every now and then, and it would be free mentoring because it was like community ITP student and all that. And it was cool. And it was only like once. And I was lucky if I got it twice, but I really didn't. People tend to get certified only after they've been working for years. This is true. So this is the mentorship program. This is what it offers. Monthly workshops, dedicated to skill development, access to all previous workshops, monthly one-on-one meetings available during office hours, 10 to 4, one Sunday out of the month, 10 to 4. If that fills up pretty quick and people are taking appointments, then I'll open up more Sundays just to kind of accommodate everyone. Access to the FAQ section with mini lessons on various ASL interpreting topics, resource pages that are vetted for accuracy. I make sure that everything I'm sharing with you guys is awesome and it's not good. Practice drills with model interpretations. So I will have model interpretations for most things that I'm doing with the program. Development of emotional strength. Like I said, there's going to be self-talk ideas. Improving and moving in the right direction to pass the NIC or the EIPA if you choose to go that route first or forever. And so why should you get the NIC? It's some ability to work. Some states you can't even work without the NIC. Consumer trust. I remember one time I went to a job and right when I met the client, he goes, "Are you certified?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay. Hi, my name." And it's like, "Okay." He's like, "Yes, some other sent, not certified." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Okay, I am though. Right, so it's automatic trust. Skills validation kind of proves that you're good enough, right? Earnings are higher, you get to make more money. That's that simple. Self-esteem booster. Of course, who wouldn't feel great after passing the NIC? First time pass rates, or not the first time, but this is the current pass rates for the NIC is 39% as of, I think for the year of 2020, I believe. And before that, it was, 25% and stuff like that. So it's tough, and there's a lack of good mentoring, but good practice in the right direction. Because you can practice, but if you're not practicing correctly, you're reinforcing bad habits. So something's not working. Students need more hands-on practice and mentoring. The cost of the NIC performance test, $410 for RID members, $510 for non-members. And some people take it some people take it over 3 times, and then they start looking for mentoring. So it's like, right? Could you imagine spending $1,500 on certification for probably 2 years trying to get certified, but you can't, and then eventually you reach out for a mentor, only to find that you find a free mentor and they connect with you and it's great, and then they can't commit much because you're not paying them. So they're like, yeah, right? So let me be your guide. So sign up, and yeah, we'll do stuff like this. It's not going to be this crazy and fast. It's going to be more relaxed. It's going to be more succinct. We're going to talk about more things. It's going to be more relaxed. This was kind of crazy. Like I said, it was like 3.5 minutes seamless, but there will be all this extra stuff in there. And so the price of the program is just $20 a month. That's it, $20 a month. And just a little note here, because the program is new, it's still being developed. So obviously modules and lessons will be filled in as we go. I'm planning, you know, once this is done, this weekend, I have a 4-day weekend. I might upload 2 or 3 lessons, and then I'll keep going. Eventually, probably the price might increase depending on how much stuff I have and how good I feel about it. Spread the word now if you can, especially to your other ITP students if they want to get in on this. This would be great. And if you sign up now while the price is still $20, you're locked in for that rate. So even if I do increase it to like 30 and maybe 40, as it goes up, you guys who sign up now are going to stay 20. So I'm never going to like up it on you.